Hey guys, it's your girl Shonna Etienne with the Virtual Book Club. I am here ready and excited to continue where I left off at yesterday. As you guys come on and start to join me, just be so kind to let me know where you are tuning in from and just say hello. I am going to take this opportunity right now just to share the video, and I kindly ask that you all do the same. Share the video as you come on, just so people can know that we are on and we are talking about things that actually matter. I can choose to talk about nonsense, but instead I rather choose to talk about things that we can do to make some changes in our lives and our children's lives and the lives of our education, and as well as in our business. So I love you guys. Just make sure you come on, just say hello to me, share the video, and let's get going. It's going to be an awesome night. So just wait for you guys to come on and say hello and share the video. All right, Nick Johnson is on. Hey, brother, how you doing? I appreciate that share, my brother. We're about to get started. We're just going to continue the discussion today with our boys and how we can help to change how they are ending up from their schools to prison pipeline. Let's really just have that conversation so we can make those changes. For those of you guys who are new to the Virtual Book Club, we are going over the book written by the one and only Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, who is an awesome scholar, to say the least. He's an awesome scholar, just renowned for all his works and all the consulting and the training and the teaching that he has been doing in regarding Black boys. And I think it's time for us not only to continue on the works that he has been doing, but to get others to join in on the conversation when it comes to our Black boys. So I thank you guys for sharing the video. Hey Natalie, good evening. How are you? I thank you guys for coming on. There go my brother Janelle Muhammad. Salam alaikum, Janelle. How are you? We're about to get started, guys. We're about to get started because it's going to be an awesome night and we don't have a lot of time. So let's go ahead and jump right in. For those who are tuning in, we are in chapter 3. We are going to be in this chapter today and tomorrow because this is a scholarly book. This book is not meant to be breezed over in 2.5 seconds. This book is meant to be dissected, to be analyzed, for us to take notes, for us to be able to apply what this scholar is telling us. A scholar among our own, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. So he's not somebody to just breeze over. So I'm really taking my time with this because, as I said, when I started to read this book, I started to make a lot of changes in how I relate to my boys, especially because I have masculine energy. See, I know about my energy. Do you guys know about your energy? I know about my energy. I have masculine energy. That doesn't mean that I'm a guy or I think I'm a guy. I'm an alpha female. I know when I talk, people listen. I know when I enter the room, people know I'm there. When I know with my kids, when I'm not playing, I'm not playing. And I can shut it down. And I wasn't aware that some of the things that I was doing and how I was going about doing it was being received as emasculating. So I had to learn how to tone that down. I had to learn how to allow that feminine energy to allow me to get what I needed out of my boys. I have 2 boys, 1 girl. My daughter, I'm alpha with her all the way, and she's killing it in the industry. She's not playing any games. You know, she's kicking behinds and taking numbers. She's not playing any games. And with my boys, I had to notice that I had to show them a different balance in our energy. So when I'm going over this book in hopes that men can start making the difference in the lives of our young boys, so that women can start making the difference in the lives of our young boys, educators, administrators, the school system, and most importantly, society. So that's why we're going over this book today. Hey, Brother Charles, how are you? From California. Yes, Charles. Hello, Quenisha. How are you? Hey, Sonia. I love you guys all checking in from Chicago. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I like to know where you guys are coming in from, because I know my New York City people be watching, but they don't be saying nothing. I know y'all be watching because this is a public page. I get statistics, baby. I see my stats. So I want you guys to check in and let me know that you are here. Hey, Season, how are you? Thank you guys for sharing the video. Don't forget to not only share the video, but to hit like for the page and follow. Let's get going. Let's get going. Chapter 3, 4th grade failure syndrome. Upon entering school and primary grades, Black children possess enthusiasm and eager interest. However, by 5th grade, the liveliness and interest are gone, replaced by passivity and apathy. Primary grades present a more nurturing environment than intermediate or upper grades. This is what he's talking about. He's saying when kids are in elementary school primarily, is more focused on the child. The environments are more nurturing. They are more understanding when it comes to kids. However, something seems to happen. There's a phenomenon that happens when children enter and leave the 4th grade. So once they get to 5th grade, because a lot of schools have shifted to the 5th grade being the start of middle school. Now, I know when I was growing up, middle school didn't start to 7th grade. And in the town that I'm living in, they are now almost completed the 2nd addition to the middle school, where they're going to shift the 5th graders into there. But as of now, the town that I reside in, middle school does not start to 7th grade. And I really did appreciate that, because I understand the environment for children in elementary schools. They're a little bit more lenient on the children in terms of how they talk to them, the expectations they have of them. They're more hands-on. They're more willing to work with them. Once they get to middle school, it's a whole nother ball game. And he's saying that there's a phenomenon that happens here. There's a phenomenon that happens when they shift into 5th grade. Our children's enthusiasm for learning, for school, for interacting with their teachers, principals, you name it, has diminished greatly. And they take on a negative attitude regarding school. And he's calling that the 4th grade failure syndrome. It is the poor transition boys make between the primary and intermediate divisions. The poor transition. So we're going to explore that for tonight. The church. Now, let's talk about the church in for a moment, just a moment. So don't get into your feelings, my Christian brothers and sisters. Y'all know I love you from the bottom of my heart. So don't get into your feelings. But what he is doing, what Dr. Kunjufu is doing, is he's exploring all the different factors that are contributing to our boys' decline. Once they get to that pre-adolescent stage, they start to decline, and he's exploring it. So he's saying the church has not been able to capture the minds of our youth, specifically boys. I hope concerned ministers and church members will look inward and ask themselves why youth, and male youth specifically, have not been attracted. I will also urge them to study the success of the Nation of Islam, specifically the period under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Why does he say that? Why is he asking for the church to explore the history, the teaching, and the success of the Nation of Islam when it relates to boys? Why? Why? That is something for us to critically analyze. I know I've been to a lot of churches that have youth program, and I know their youth numbers, they go up, they go down, they go up, then they go down. The boys come, the boys leave, and there's no consistency into these programs. And I know for myself, I've spoken to several in different churches, youth leaders. And from my clinical background and my understanding of child development and engagement and how the boy begins to perceive himself in life, I have made suggestions to many youth programs in different churches. And they all like smile and they listen to you and they'll engage in conversation, but they never make the changes. They never make the changes. I just chuck it up to ego. I chuck it up to ego and cliques. I don't care how big or how small a church is. There are a lot of cliques that happen in these churches, and it needs to be broken up because, you know, it doesn't make people feel invited. And when you have cliques among adults, what do you think happens to the children? So let's really explore it when it comes to the Nation of Islam and how they work. For the one thing, like I told you guys, when I first started out on my spiritual journey, I was in the Nation of Islam. I just couldn't follow all the rules. I had to leave, brothers and sisters. But nonetheless, I was in the Nation of Islam. And there's one thing that they've done successfully for a very long time is how they educate their women and how they educate their men. Men and women are separate. Boys and girls at a certain age are separate, and the education is tailored and specific to the sex. Women are taught not only how to carry themselves, but how to mate, how to engage with their spouses, their people they're dating. No one dates in private, is courting with their partnerships all set up. With the men, they're taught how to be men. The boys are taught how to be men. There are mentors that come in that mentor the boys all the way down. They all have to do the same things, whether the boys are cleaning up the outside of the building or whatever the case is, or they all are selling final call papers, whatever the case is. The men are doing what they have to do to protect and provide, and they're showing the boys how to do it. And the women are doing what they have to do as queens of their castles, and they're showing the young girls how to do it. Baby, I don't see this in many churches. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying I do not see this in many churches. So we have to really study and analyze, why isn't that the case? Why are so many ministries failing? But I know some people gonna get in their feelings, but I'm one of those people that sit back and I watch. I watch a lot. And I see it. I see it. So let's just really talk about it. During the past 30 years, speaking 4 times a week, my travels have taken me to many male kindergarten teachers. Have not taken me to many male kindergarten teachers. He have not seen a lot of male kindergarten teachers. Men normally enter the picture in the upper grades when the conspiracy is well underway. Men can usually be found as janitors, security guards, physical education teachers, or administrators. Why is that important? Why is that important for us to analyze? You see, when we have children so young, they're in kindergarten, first grade, and majority of their teachers are female, followed by white. That is a problem. That is a stage when a child's brain is rapidly developing. They are learning a lot of stuff. Even though their personality is set to be set by the age of 4, they're still picking up a lot of information and knowledge, and their enthusiasm for learning is there. So when boys, as we know, boys have a higher verve, so they're really energetic. As we know, boys, they just respond differently to the classroom. Majority of boys, they respond differently in the classroom. So we have female teachers being a dominating force over these boys, especially when it comes to black boys and their white female teachers. That doesn't make for a good dynamic. And I know that the topic of race make people feel so uncomfortable, but the truth is the truth, and we have to explore it. If what we have been doing isn't working, we have to try something different. We have to try something different. So it's important for us to know that in these primary years, our male children, our male boys, they must be exposed to men. They must be. And the other day I was having a conversation with my son, and I said to my son, because y'all know I told y'all he's reading this book as well. So I'm having a conversation with my son, and I asked my son to analyze the teachers that have been in his life. And he said majority of them, not all, but majority, like 85% of them have been females. So then the next question I asked him was, how many black male teachers have been in your life? He said none. None. He knew right off the bat. And then he said, well, except for if they're substitute teachers. Like if a teacher is absent, we might get a male substitute who's black. But other than that, none. None. That's a problem. That's a problem. So when I start to say to myself, what is it? I don't know what's really happening here. Are black males being discriminated against from hiring practices? Are black males not applying to be teachers? Like, what actually is happening here? Are they not paying black males enough money? I don't know what the external factors are, but what I do know, the stats are the stats, and the stats don't lie, and we have to explore it. He said, when it comes to public schools, many people are quick to declare public schools incapable of teaching African American children. I have been to many public schools where I have witnessed some of the finest educational experiences, public or private. So we know that. We know there are some good teachers. We know that they exist. But something is happening here where it's not being trickled down. So I love the way Dr. Kunjufu explores this whole phenomenon when it comes to great teachers. What's actually happening? He says the problem cannot be easily solved with the condemnation of public schools, racism, or the lack of male teachers. To pinpoint the problem, we must look at the continuity. The continuity. Parents often tell me how wonderful their children's previous teacher was, but say that during the current year, this is not the case. And principals are also quick to mention who their stalwarts are. So he's basically saying is there's a continuity that is a problem here. And what is meant by continuity is when you have great teachers, it's not transferring over year after year after year. So I might have an excellent teacher when I'm in 3rd grade, but by the time I get to 4th grade, is a terrible teacher. And not only do parents know who the terrible teachers are, the children know and the administrators know who are the terrible teachers. And they're quick to tell you the terrible teachers, but what is the solution when it comes to keeping great teachers and having them go year after year after year? What is the solution? What's really happening there? What I've learned from these encounters is that in all 4 groups, children, parents, teachers, and administrators recognize quality. Everyone knows what a good teacher is. Therefore, you are a member of the conspiracy. Check this out. This is where I was like, ooh, shots fired. He's getting ready, y'all. I'm about to turn up now. He's getting ready. He said, therefore, you are a member of the conspiracy if you allow a child to sit in a classroom 1 extra day with an unconcerned teacher. Now, y'all know when I first started this book, I told y'all some of us are going to be so uncomfortable with hearing that we are co-conspirators to our children ending up in prison, right? So if you know your child has an ineffective school teacher and your child remains in that classroom, you are a co-conspirator. If you are an administrator and you know you have an ineffective teacher who is unconcerned about the students and that teacher remains in your classroom, you are a co-conspirator. If you are a teacher and you know your behind is evil, unconcerned, nasty, and ineffective, you are a co-conspirator with the system. Nobody is exempt. Nobody, whether we like it or not. And some people might ask, well, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to change it? I tried. I said something and nothing happened. And I understand that argument. I understand it. And he addresses it. He says principals have informed me that they place their best teachers, including men, in upper grades to maintain the order for the most undisciplined children. Right? But that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. He says this Band-Aid approach, putting a Band-Aid on it. You know you have ineffective teachers in the bottom school, but you're pulling out the good teachers from the primary schools and putting them in your upper classes, in your high schools. You're taking them out and you're making them principals. And I'm not saying they don't need promotions, but you're taking very good teachers out of the classroom and they're not being replaced by good teachers. You're taking them out of the elementary school and you're putting them in the high school. And you're leaving crap teachers behind in the elementary school. He says, it should be obvious that if you stop the problem in the primary division, if you stop the problem in elementary school, you would not have this problem migrating to upper class. Because you're basically saying you send all your good teachers to the upper class so that they can control the undisciplined children. But if you correct the problem in in elementary school, then those children will be on the right track when they get into high school. Sounds easy, right? It sounds easy if you really look at it that way. The solution then would be to make staff changes and accept and live with the problem for 3 years until all those upper grades graduated. But nobody wants to do that, especially not with the upper grades. Nobody wants to do that. And I really do appreciate his recommendations, because if we did follow them, what would happen? What would happen? We must, absolutely must have good teachers, whether they are in elementary school, middle school, or high school. We need to have effective teachers. But then you have this issue of the union. And I'm not saying anything about the union. But there comes a problem when the union is not really concerned for the students. There are no student unions. There is nobody really to represent the students. Everybody's concerned about the teacher keeping her job or his job and their paychecks. But what about the students? What about the students? And then we get upset when we look at the statistics and we look at the dropout rates and we look at the failing rates for the exams. We get upset and we try to find band-aid approaches to it, but we're really not working with the problem in and of itself. If we stayed child focused, if we kept the child the center, what would happen? What would happen? The problem can be minimized when public school parents, okay, y'all better get with it right now. Because I understand some of you parents, y'all like to blame the schools, and the schools like to blame the parents. And like I said, when I first came on the last few days, no one is exempt. Everybody is playing a part. And here's what you parents are doing. The problem can be minimized when public school parents realize that the prime difference between them and the private school parents is that one pays directly and the other through taxes. So we all paying for our child's education. That's the only difference when you look at public school and private school. And so many people make that public school, private school argument. Oh, the reason why you have a better education for your children, Shonna, is because your children go to private school and you're paying for it. So the teachers care more about your children. No, they don't. Don't ever think in a million years that the teachers don't try our children in private school. The only difference is when I'm coughing up tuition money, like college tuition money for my child's school, and you acting up, you're going to get your act together. You're going to be out of a job. Because if we make noise and we make hell, we're constituents. You're constituents. Even if your child's in a public school, you are constituents. But the difference is what happens is we keep in the forefront of our thinking and our strategy, we are paying for this education. You will not disrespect me. You will not disrespect my child. Because if money starts coming out the school, and we as parents make enough noise and we start pulling our kids out the school, that school cannot stand anymore. It cannot open. It cannot afford to keep their teachers, their curriculum, their state of the art. It cannot work that way. So that school works on the money, but the same is true for public school. And I know when my children were in public school, I was one of those moms that always had to remind the principal, remind the guidance counselor, the social workers, the school psychologists, and the teachers that I'm paying your salary. Don't let me make hell for you. Because once I make hell for you, I'm taking it all the way up to the courts. I'm going to make sure you're removed. But how many parents take on that advocacy? How many parents are focused in that way? I ain't gonna lie to you. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to write letter after letter after letter. It takes a lot of energy to go to the superintendent's office, go to the board of education, go to the principal. It takes a lot of energy, but you gotta do it. It takes a lot of energy to write an email on everything, to have documentation and CC everybody and their grandmother on the email. It takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of energy to constantly remind somebody you're not a dummy, you pay taxes, and they're gonna have hell to pay. It takes a lot of energy to file complaints with the State Department of Education. It takes a lot of energy to file complaints with the Federal Board of Education, but it's there, or the Federal Department of Education, but it's there. And these are your options. As a taxpayer, you absolutely must exercise it. But people give up on the fight because it takes a lot of energy. And if you keep in your thinking that you pay taxes, if you keep in your thinking that the reason why they have a job is because of you, if you keep in your thinking organizing the parents, showing up at PTA meetings, being a voice, handing out flyers, complaining about teachers, calling for their removal, going to the newspaper, going to the media, taking to social media. If you are serious about your child's education and you are consistent, you will get results. I have gotten results. I know plenty of people who have gotten results. You will absolutely. I don't care what district you live in. I don't care if you live in the slums or the suburbs. I don't care if you live in the East Coast or the West Coast or out West. You will absolutely get results. But you have to remain consistent. You have to check those emotions, put the checker pieces away, and start playing chess. That means you can't be emotional. You got to be strategic. You got to read up on the different laws, Title IX, Title IV. You got to read up on the different laws as it pertains to the school, as the educational system. You got to understand what the laws of No Child Left Behind are. You got to understand what these test requirements is. You got to take an understanding. You got to know these things, so you can make the difference. So the argument between private school and public school, I don't want to hear it. It's a matter of private school parents know how to play the game, and some, not all, some public school parents let things slide, and they don't show up to meetings. So let's see what he says. Enough about my opinion about that. Let's see what he says. He says schools still belong to parents. And if parents recognize qualitative differences in their teachers and are not satisfied, they can organize with other parents to either have their teacher removed or keep their children home. See, you may say, well, what does that mean? Let me tell you something, baby. There are laws. I remember a moment of time with my child, my middle school boy was homeschooled, and guess who paid for it? Not me. I wasn't paying for it. The Board of Education did. Yes, it did. You better know the law. You better know the law. You better spend your time on Google and stop on Ratchet TV and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You better spend your time reading, because we don't have time to waste when it comes to our kids. This is do or die. When you get to 4th grade, it's do or die. By the time that child gets to middle school, they already know who's going to college and who is not. We don't got time to waste. So if somebody is railroading your child, instead of taking to social media and complaining about it, you better get to Google and start researching. You better start going to the State Department of Education website and start researching. You better start going to the Federal Department website and start researching on educational laws and start implementing those things and start quoting those laws in your emails all the way up into the superintendent of schools. Stop playing games with them. Organize these parents. Talk to these parents. Create a flyer. Hand the flyers out. Ask for parents' phone numbers and their emails and communicate with them. Because I bet you, if you have a problem, you can find 10 other parents that have a problem. The only thing you have to do is get organized and strategic. Organized and strategic to get your needs met. Okay? As a result of being organized and strategic, the school will lose money and be forced to remove the teacher. Because if you are pulling your child out of their school and they have to now pay for your child to have homeschooling, whether it's through online or a teacher comes to the home, when my child was homeschooled by the board, through the Board of Education, they sent teachers to his home to teach those subject matters at hand. Okay, so there are strategies that you can take. The streets. Let's talk about the streets. So we talked about the school. We talked about the parents. Now let's talk about the streets. Because some of y'all kids are in the streets. Some of your kids are in the streets. And some parents are not doing what they need to do to prevent that from happening. Some, not all, some. But let's talk about the dynamics of the streets. The streets constitute an institution in the same way that the church, school, and family are conceived as institutions. They all have a set of values and norms to govern and reinforce their existence. Of course, the social structure of the street lacks the sophistication these other institutions have. Nevertheless, it is an institution because it helps to shape and control behavior. The streets help to shape and control your child's behavior. So if you live in a community that is ridden with drugs, alcohol, crime, failing people, gangs, mediocrity, that environment will shape and control your child's behavior. But see, the thing is, some of our parents, some, not all, I ain't talking to everybody. If it don't apply, let it fly. If it does apply, don't change this channel. You need to listen. Some of our parents are in the streets as well. They're in the streets as well. So that's a double whammy. You running the streets right along with your kids. While you out clubbing or partying or in your girlfriend's house drinking or whatever the heck you doing, your child is in the streets probably doing the same damn thing. Remember those commercials that used to come on a long time ago? It is 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Do you know where your children are? They don't even put those commercials on anymore. Why not? But then again, maybe they do. I don't watch TV. I might be talking too soon. But the point is, we need to understand that the streets is an institution. And it will control and shape our child's behavior. All right? And it is on the streets where the black child receives his basic orientation to life. The streets become his primary reference because their institutions have failed to provide him with the essential skills he needs to survive in the get colony. Like the ghetto, the get colony. So he said, the streets become his basic orientation to life because the other institutions, the school, the church, and their families have failed to provide him the information, the tools, the resources, everything he needs to survive. So he's turning to the streets. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Let me tell you something. Some parents do not like to talk to their children about sex. They do not like to talk to their children about sexually transmitted diseases. They don't like to talk to their children about pregnancy. They don't like to talk to their children about safer sex. They don't like to talk to their children about drugs, gangs, violence, or maybe they forget to talk to their children about that. I don't really know what really is going on. But I see so many children in my practice. Now, y'all know I have a counseling center. I'm a mental health clinician. Now, I know how to build a business from the ground up. I know how to teach on that. But by my trade, by my career, by my training and my education, I am a clinician. And we have children of all ages come through my organization all the time. And when we have our one-on-one conversations, the stuff that y'all children tell us, we know you're not having conversations with them about it. We know you're not. So the people that do bring their children to counseling, I applaud them. Because sometimes we drop the ball as parents. Whether we are too tied up in our own life to even remember the things that we must do with our children, or maybe we were never spoken to by our parents about the issues that need to be spoken to, so that intergenerational pathology passes down, meaning that behavior that's not good passes down. We don't talk to our children about pregnancy, whatever the case is. Or maybe, we don't want to talk to them about them because we think we have the conversations with them, they're going to do it. Talk to your children. Talk to your children no matter how uncomfortable the conversation is. Because if you don't talk to your children about these things, the streets will. If you don't talk to your children about sex and what they can expect and when are the appropriate times to explore sex, and if you're going to have sex, when should they use a condom, if they should talk to you for contraception, we need to have these kind of conversations with our children. Because when you don't do it, their girlfriend is talking to them. Their boyfriend is talking to them. The dudes on the corner is talking to them. The ladies that they listen to that sit in front of the house having their sexual conversations is talking to them indirectly. Somebody is talking to your child about sex, drugs, diseases if you're not. So if you don't do it, whose advice they're going to follow? And you can't tell me, well, my child is not like that. Because your child is the one that's sitting in my office. Your child is the one who's telling me they sexing and you don't even know. Your child is the one who's twerking on Snapchat with thongs on and you don't even know. Because you have made it appropriate and acceptable for them to frequent Victoria's Secret. Think I don't know when I know, baby. Trust me and believe I know. You better get to them, because if you don't get to them, the streets are going to get to them. And I don't care what street you live in. This is just not for the urban people. This is not for the impoverished people. This is for everybody. Because, baby, if you're living in the suburbs, don't think your child ain't using drugs. Don't think they're not drinking your alcohol with their friends when you're not home. And replacing it with water in your bottle. Think I don't know when I know. They tell me everything. Talk to your kids. Talk to your kids. And for a child to survive the Get colony, he must undergo a rigorous apprenticeship that will enable him to compensate for the lack of guidance from other institutions and adults. Same thing I just said. He becomes a student of the asphalt jungle. Asphalt jungle. Oh, I like that. Because that is where he can learn the skills he needs. So if you're not teaching him, the streets is teaching him. The curriculum for this asphalt institution, the street institution, incorporates many of the same courses that are found in the formal school setting. Courses such as sociology, political science, history, biology, and even physical sciences. You may ask how. How is the streets teaching my child sociology, or political science, or history, or the physical sciences? How is this? That would make sense. I'm going to tell you how. Check this out. Its sociology consists of studying the so-called pathology of the ghetto. See, sociology is the study of people. That's what sociology is, right? It's when we sit back, us sociologists, we sit back and we study people through qualitative research. That might be us observing you, taking notes, observing you for a whole month, a year, a week, the same time, same spot, location, see what you're doing, seeing how you guys all interact. That's what we do. Don't ever get it twisted. Some people think I just sit in the mall because I'm a crazy lady. I'm watching your kids. I'm learning. I'm taking notes. I keep my recorder. I'm recording. I see what they're doing. I see them come to the malls and they change their clothes and put on lipstick. I see it. And the parents are foolish. Therefore, I check my kids' bags. Can I go? Let me see your bag. Because I know what they're doing. That's what we do in sociology. So when we talk about the streets, when we talk about the streets being a child sociology class, they're teaching your child the pathology, the sickness, the social ills of the ghetto. How to shoplift. Come on now, let's not act like we pretend. The streets taught me how to get 5-finger discounts. Lord, I did it once or twice, scared the life out of me when my cousin got caught and was put in a cage and cow doors. Remember cow doors? Oh, Lord, we never looked at her in the cage and kept it moving. I wasn't trying to get arrested. I'll call auntie so they could come get you. Never did it again in my life. I ain't afraid to tell the truth because the streets taught me how to do that. The streets of the Bronx taught me how to do that. The streets of the Bronx taught me how to survive. If it meant me knocking you in the head with a brick, it was going to happen. I'm not saying I'm proud of that, but I grew up in the streets of the Bronx. And my greatest lessons came from the streets. The streets taught me everything. Everything. Everything my mama should have taught me, the streets taught me. And they taught me not in an appropriate way, but they taught me. So the streets becomes your child's sociology class. The streets become your child's political science class. Political science is learned from the unscrupulous exploits of the current politicians. Histories from the current politicians, and not only in politicians, but your police force. So what do they tell you about the cops? They know when Popo's coming around. They know what to do when election time comes. They know what these greasy politicians do. They know how to get what they want. They know how to make sure they clear the cops off the streets by paying the cops off. All of this stuff happens. You don't believe me? Now, it was a TV show, but it was a great TV show, and I just saw it this year. It's been off for many, many years, but I don't watch TV, and one of my faithful followers, love you, told me to watch The Wire. Baby, The Wire, no joke. And that's what goes down, right? So the streets will teach your child about political science. The streets will teach your child about history. History from the years of discrimination and economic deprivation. They will teach your child biology. Biology from youth smoking marijuana. How many of our youth smoke weed? My Lord. They doing something different now with the weed. Oh no, baby, it's not weed like how it was when I was growing up, when you got excited, when you got purple haze, because purple haze was just different. Or chocolate, you got that chocolate. Different. I mean, the kids, I'm telling you, the street taught us everything. Everything. We knew who was doing what and when they was doing it. Nowadays, they dipping that weed and stuff. And now they're educating your kid. No, your mom ain't going to know. This is what you got to do. When you get in the house, go straight to the back. Don't eat dinner. Tell them you're not hungry, because then they're going to see it in your eyes. They teaching them. I forgot I was an investigator for the state of New Jersey for years. I saw it all. I see how the streets move. If you don't teach your child, the streets are teaching your child. Biology, teach them how to have sex. And let me tell you what's not going on in the streets for the most part. They ain't telling them to put on a condom, because the girls are so damn stupid. The boys are telling them, no, your virgin is good. It's going to feel better and it's going to hurt less. This is the nonsense they tell them if you don't wear a condom. It only takes once to get HIV, and it only takes once to get pregnant. It only takes once to get a venereal disease. Once. That's all it takes. One time. So if you are not teaching your child, the streets are going to teach him and her. Okay? So they're having sex in all type of places. Dirty alleys, hallways, in the school. Disgusting. Fast behind little boys and girls. And the physical sciences are taught by learning how to endure the elements of unfit for human consumption. Okay? The objective in this chapter that we are studying, the objective is to analyze the factors that are taking place in the lives of Black boys between the ages of 9 and 13, and what we can do to circumvent them. What we can do. According to Dr. Kunjufu, he's saying, I strongly believe that when we understand what is taking place in the lives of African American boys at the age of 9, we'll be able to rectify it. Only when we understand what is taking place. Only when we understand the gaps that need to be filled, or the things that need to be changed. Only when we have an understanding about it, we can change it. And the factors that contribute to the decline of African American boys' achievements are a decline in parental involvement. We talked about that tonight. An increase in peer pressure. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. A decline in nurturance. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. A decline in teacher expectations. We already know that. They got lower expectations for Black boys. A lack of understanding of learning styles. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And a lack of male teachers. We already know there's more female teachers and more white teachers than there are male teachers and male Black teachers. Oh my Lord. So you got to understand. Tomorrow we're going to address those other issues. But you got to understand that with parent involvement, that's the key to everything. With parent involvement, whether it's with the teachers, making sure the school system is doing what they're supposed to do, or it's about giving your child the mentorship or the tools and the resources they need so that the streets won't educate them. Parent involvement is everything. And it's one thing, like he says, I don't know who told parents that when their children become older, they need less of our time rather than more. In fact, the older they get, the more of our time they need. I don't understand why people think it gets easier when their child gets older. Because as long as we have that mindset, our behavior, see, everything starts in the mind. All thought starts in the mind. And as long as we have that mindset, our behaviors will shift. as our children become older. We'll be more lenient on understanding who their friends are and needing to meet their friends and their friends' parents. We will give them curfew times and not really check on where they say they're going. We won't even take that seriously. We'll stop monitoring their cell phones and what they're doing. We'll start looking at what they're doing online because we start to relax because they're older now. Baby, that's the time when you need to be on them like white on rice. I'm not saying be a helicopter man or a helicopter woman to your child. I'm not saying to do that. But I'm saying that's the time when you really got to strengthen your relationship with your child, because you are up against some real deadly, dangerous forces if you don't monitor it. Their friends could be bad influences if you don't monitor it. I'm not saying all their friends are bad, but I'm saying their friends could be bad influences if you don't monitor it. The school will railroad them and already set them aside for failure. You ain't going to college. You going to jail. If you don't monitor that school and your child's work in that school and make sure your child is doing his part so that he doesn't get singled out. It doesn't get easier when your child gets older. It gets harder. It gets harder. When I speak to Head Start parents across the country, Head Start, that is the 3 and 4-year-olds, Head Start, 80% of them are present. Parents are present when their children are very young. They're present. At the elementary school level, only 30% show up. In most high schools, parent meetings aren't even considered. So we're going to end there today. Tomorrow we're going to start with peer pressure. We're going to end there today in chapter 3 of The Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, written by Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu. We have to understand that we must show up for our children at all times. Even though my daughter is in college right now, I understand the university that she goes to. And just because it's an Ivy League university doesn't mean things don't get live there. I pop up. I know other parents don't have that opportunity to do that because I live right across the bridge. Literally, I can get to my daughter's school in 10 minutes, and I'm happy for that. Because I pop up, and we still do our brunch with her almost every Sunday, unless she flat leave us. When the family goes out, we go to brunch in New York on Sundays. We take her, we tie in with her and make this decision. And when my daughter never dated, all through high school, elementary, definitely not, middle school, definitely not, never dated. So when she got into college, I stepped in my game with talking to her about this kind of things and to talk to me. But I've always had that relationship with her. The problem is people want to be their kids' friends. I'm not your friend. I'm not. So I make sure I put certain stipulations, but within reasonable boundaries based on age. But there are going to be boundaries and stipulations in place. And the only thing I'm saying to you guys, ladies and gentlemen, is we got work to do. Because there's a system that's working against us as black folk. This book was written in the 80s. In the 80s. This is 30 years later, and we are still faced with the same problems. When will we wake up? When will we stop being bothered having these topics and start really actively listening and taking an active role and making a difference in our community? It starts with us. The white man cannot do it for us. I love you all. Have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow at 9 p.m. on the